Hey Capricorn, this is your Leo season reading, and all information to work with me one-on-one is below, as well as the extended version of this reading, which will be in the first link below. Let's get into it. It's really interesting to be in a season, right, where you can feel whatever's been unprocessed kind of start burning, right? It's like the kind of feeling like the rubber burning off yourself. This is before this even came out, so this came out first. Interesting. And you may feel determined to handle everything coming towards you or everything that's happening in your life, but I think you're doing it in a way where you're not rushing. You're actually taking a different route now. You're noticing where, in fact, your ego or your sense of awareness is needing to grow and process, and not just go because you have the energy, not just do shit because you have the energy, but to think of the outcome, the long term. You are always a long-term person, but this is in a very personal way. This is Leo, this is the ego, this is your role, the roles you have played, your childhood, children, creativity, all the things here in Leo season. You may realize that you do have a lot of power in being grounded in any decision you make, because things do happen quickly for you when everything comes together, right? A lot happens quickly for you, and this month it's about not letting the doubt get to you. Your reading is super simple. Everyone else's was a little bit different so far. You may spend some time doubting, but I think what you really realize is that you can spend that time energizing your imagination, using your imagination, using your creativity, being in that mode. I've said this to a few signs. I don't know if it was you, but if it's coming up with you again, how interesting. Julia Cameron believes we're all artists. And she says, and there's a few different texts that say this, like there's nothing like creating art or creating something from you and being in conscious participation, just like raising a child. But it's different because it's similar in my opinion, because it's like the art takes its own life of its own when you put it out there into the world, or even when you're working on it. It's still like if I paint and set it down, like it's still something's still working, right? Some kind of perspective is changing, or whatever however you're seeing things now are changing your perspective or opening up. A lot of cards just fell out. I think I'm just going to reshuffle. We'll save all of that for the next part. But you have found a place in your life where you realize you go between extremes of being like, I'm stuck, or doubting myself, and it looks a lot different than how I'm saying it, but you get how I'm going about this. I'm just kind of like going through it. You feel stuck, you don't know what to do, but then you find their personal power, you find it in yourself. You may even feel confined at first, and all of a sudden it's out there and you have all this energy because this realization came to you, but you can't really do anything about it just yet. What happens? That energy, because maybe you find it in the middle of the night, it's sometimes allowing yourself to be driven by those forces, though, to do something about it. Write it down, to keep the momentum and that energy of whatever it feels like in the middle of the night. What is that essence coming to you? How can you recreate that for yourself, or how can you allow yourself to be more tapped into that? Because what you'll find is that it's not about what you have, and maybe there are things that you need, and it would be more enjoyable to have. So like I find things, and it talks about like buying things for your inner artist, or decorating for your inner artist, or any of that stuff. And if that doesn't sound good to you, it's just about maybe taking yourself on dates like alone, or doing things alone where you connect with this inner part of you that's not reliant on what you've made thus far, what you've built this far. It's about who you are and how you're doing and how you're moving about right now. Because essentially you have, and maybe like be feeling extremely grateful. This month, coming into this month, maybe felt a little sticky or just like uneasy, and maybe even somewhat rushed. And then as we move into the month, it slows down a little. You may even find that you can come to a common ground or come to a place in your mind where you're not going to even, and maybe you do give yourself like a time, like, okay, I'm going to think about this or imagine this for a while, and then I start building it or moving towards something. Or you let it just be free and you do it whenever you feel inspired. So notice which way you swing, and if you maybe want to do something else, those are just like examples, and like then you can like make it your own and do whatever ritual. And maybe it's time to create a ritual around this, maybe that you're used to. And she talks about like artists who think they have to be like, what is that called, the artist who's like down in the dumps, or like always like hungry, or okay, I just gotta let it go. But that version of the artist where they're always broke, or starving artist. I said hungry, it's like the same thing. Starving artist. So it's about feeding your artist. What does that look like for you? Is that something you've even thought of? What is it like to feel like, to think of that? Or is this about creating a family for you? Because it's a very similar thing. You're creating both. And maybe this is about being even more involved in creating your life. Whether you're single or partnered, it's this conscious effort on your part to be very, not only open, but be open and remain assertive about what you want in a way. It's not complicated at all. Very yin, feminine, because Earth is feminine. Capricorn is a feminine sign. Feminine Earth cardinal, very direction oriented. Maybe there's no goal in mind, but the goal is to open up this part of yourself that if you've been closed off to for a while, or you've put so much, maybe you've put rules, way too many rules around your art or how you create, and now you're like little by little or slowly or just actually letting yourself like roam. And it's just starting from somewhere new, or maybe it's just for mingling with different kinds of people, or again changing this perspective and acting on it and doing something actionable with the perspective actually helps things to grow. Helps you to grow. It helps your mind to, if that's what you're here, I'm hoping that's what you're looking for, because we're here to grow here, and just like also see what's holding you back, what's coming from the heart. And this month, your heart is seeking more connection between you and the life that you're living, and noticing if what's been crippling is being too internal, having no outlet. And it's not like maybe you're someone who wants to talk all the time either. Again, creating art and doing that is an outlet. And it doesn't have to just be art. I'm not just thinking painting, it could be technology-based art, right? It could be building stuff. Whatever it is, it's wanting to come out of you. And for those of you progressing in this manner, you might feel a vulnerable part of you enter the chat. And it's allowing this shift to happen between the extremes of your inner and out, how the extremes of your inner and outer world can seem sometimes, So it's giving yourself direction, but also allowing yourself the patience that you need. And your control is your medium. So there's where you can put your direction and your control. And you can take this as a metaphor for your life. So if there's something just in your life that you're needing a different perspective on, or you find yourself running into like walls over and over and over again and you can't quite see it, maybe you don't have someone close enough to you to talk about it, maybe that's something you want to do, definitely find recommendations, you know, do your research on any like particular therapy or modality, healing modality that you might want to enter, or even maybe learning this new thing is that healing for you, because and the leisure part is allowing yourself to be patient and rest and not, you know, go at your own pace with it, not just like, I gotta do this and be good at it, or whatever it is, whichever way you think you could be good at it too, as you probably will be. But that's a way that you can also speak yourself and bring yourself to acknowledge, you know, that you are being compassionate towards the side of you that's opening up, or just this natural tendency to maybe want to grow right now in Leo season. And what's growing is this part of you that wants to enter the world differently, possibly, maybe. And I think it's beautiful, Capricorn. This was surprising and I love it. And I'll see you in the next part.